You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
You're planning a vacation, an escape from the day-to-day routine of everyday life. You're looking forward to getting pampered in some sunbathed tropical island getaway, surrounded by cool, balmy breezes with the soothing, relaxing sounds of calypso music playing distantly in the warm island air. Doesn't it sound wonderful? Well, don't leave your pets at home. They want to go too. Welcome to Travel Tales, the show where you'll get great travel ideas on perfect places for you and your pet. From Paris to paradise, south of the border to the South Seas, Travel Tales will give you cool tips on fun vacation destinations to travel with your pet, pet-friendly hotels, and advice on how to travel safely and happily with your furry best friends. So get ready to pack the bags and the bones with your Travel Tales hosts, Susan Sims and Nicholas Vezlowski.
Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Sims.
And I'm Nicholas Vezlowski. We are your hosts for Travel Tales on Pet Life Radio. And you know, as editor and publisher of Fido Friendly Magazine, we know travel.
And we just can't wait to share our years of dog travel experience with you during our podcast each week.
Yeah, that's right. And today, joining us here is one of our featured writers from Fido Friendly Magazine, Lorraine Chittock.
Lorraine is so fascinating to me. She's gone on walking tours in Africa for a couple of years with her 2 African-born dogs. She's now in Peru, but she was in Costa Rica for a while. And it's just very interesting to me how she can take these 2 dogs. And most often, these dogs are not on lead. The 3 of them are obviously a pack, but it's amazing to me that she can go to these different places and may not even speak the language, but she kind of searches out where it feels comfortable. And she's lost her dogs before. She's had animal communicators come in and help her find them. She's just fascinating.
Yeah, she's got the whole package as far as the travel tale adventure. And I mean, here she is crossing cultures, breaking down borders, or, vice versa, whatever you want to say. But what I think is really interesting today is that we're going to be able to talk with Lorraine somewhere in South America. She's sitting in an internet cafe waiting to talk with us.
Yeah, so this might be a little scratchy, and we might cut in and out just because we are going to be talking to Lorraine in South America. But it'll be worth it. So this will be a very interesting show this week. So sit and stay. We will be right back with more Travel Tales on Pet Life Radio.
Attention passengers, please fasten your seatbelts, put your seat bags and sleeping pets in their full upright position, and prepare for takeoff. Travel Tales will be zooming back with more great travel tips right after this. School's in session on Pet Life Radio with Teacher's Pet. Learn how to communicate with your pet, train your pet, and see the world from your pet's point of view. You may even learn a few tricks yourself. Teacher's Pet with pet expert and author Sarah Wilson. Only on PetLifeRadio.com.
Pets are part of the family, and when traveling with your dog, there's only one magazine to include when packing your doggie's duffel bag, and that's Fido Friendly, the travel and lifestyle magazine for you and your dog. Each bi-monthly issue includes hotel, city, and state reviews, and doggy destinations to explore with your furry companion. Fido Friendly magazine can be found at Borders, Barnes & Noble, PetSmart, Pet Boutiques, and Fido Friendly hotels nationwide. Or you can go online to subscribe at www.fidofriendly.com. So get traveling with your pet today and leave no dog behind. And remember, Fido Friendly's the only magazine dedicated to the travel lifestyle of man's best friend, and the one magazine your dog will thank you for.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Attention passengers, we are now approaching our final destination. The weather is sunny and warm. Ocean temperature is a balmy 80 degrees for those of you wishing to doggy paddle. Please exit to the front and see our activities directors, Susan and Nicholas, on your way out. Have a pleasant stay.
Welcome back to Pet Life Radio. This is Nicholas Vezlowski along with Susan Sims, and we are your hosts for this segment of Travel Tales.
And on the line is featured columnist for Fido Friendly Magazine, Lorraine Chittock. Hi, Lorraine. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. You know, a lot of people may be familiar with your column in Fido Friendly magazine, where you spent a few years walking across Africa with your two African-born hounds, Dog and Bruiser. But what they may not know is that you're now traveling in South America with Dog and Bruiser in a 30-year-old car.
That's true, I am. It's actually
How's that car holding up?
It's great. It's absolutely great. It's actually only 29 years old, but I don't seem to be having any problems with it. So I'm very happy about this.
That's great. When did you pick up the car? Was it in? I think you were in Costa Rica, right?
No, I was in Arizona, in a little town outside of where was it? Well, actually, in between Tucson and Phoenix. And it was just, it was one of those serendipitous moments. I just walked into a mechanic's looking for a tow bar in the hopes that I would find a van that I could buy. And the mechanic said, well, I have a van. And within 24 hours, I purchased it. So that worked out very well.
That's great.
Well, I think what was really fascinating to me is the last article that you had written for Fido Friendly, as you outfitted the front seat for Dog and Bruiser. And I just want to kind of back up a second. Dog and Bruiser are two African-born hounds that Lorraine found in her journey. She had a one-woman travel walking odyssey with her two dogs across Africa that is just so fascinating to me. And, you know, we've gotten a lot of input from our readers. And so Lorraine has left the African plains and now is traveling with Dog and Bruiser in South America.
Correct. And I'm currently in Peru right now, in the north, in the desert area.
Oh, wow. Do you and Dog and Bruiser kind of blend in, or do you feel like there's a much different culture?
The dogs definitely blend in, and you know that's one of the really unique things, because you know we meet people and they ask me where I'm from and they ask me where the dogs are from, and I usually say they're from Africa, and they're always quite shocked because they say, well, but these dogs, they look just like our dogs. But sometimes, in truth, and sometimes I just say that we're all from America, because you know, it's just such a bizarre story in a way. You know, oh, well, you know, they're actually from Africa, and then I flew them to America, and then we drove down. It's to people who haven't traveled much, and I'm often in rural areas, it's just too fanciful to comprehend all that. So I just make it easy and simple usually.
Well, you know, even where you are right now in an internet cafe, where are the dogs right now?
They're actually staying, the three of us are staying in an animal sanctuary about a half an hour away from here. And there's 30 cats, thankfully, away from Dog and Bruiser, because they're not very good with cats. although we have a clean record at this point, and I want to keep it that way.
So it's more like prey to them.
Yes. Yeah, they switched from having, you know, looking at lions and cats and all this kind of thing as predator, and now they see these small little creatures and they think, yes, now it's my turn to get back at them. Yeah. But yeah, there's about 15 dogs there too, and those are also kind of in a separate area, and so we've got this little house available for us that they're staying in right now, and that's good because the weather's just starting to get hot here. So and I'd be very nervous if they're in the van and I'm in the comfort of a cool place. Although, having said that, you know, there's many internet cafes that we go into that they don't mind having the dogs inside. It's quite different in America in that way. Well, I mean, in America, it's difficult to even find an internet cafe.
Right.
But the dogs are pretty welcome, as long as we're not in big cities. In big cities, then it becomes much more like America, and you know, restaurants are out of bounds, and banks are out of bounds, and all this kind of thing.
Okay. So, but overall, you're finding it that there's a general wide acceptance, more so in a foreign country than in the U.S., where dogs can kind of tag along with you just about anywhere?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it is much easier here. And, you know, the dogs haven't been on a lead in, a couple of months. I just don't need to have them on a lead. but at the same time, there's so many dogs here, especially in the north of Peru, that they're almost an annoyance to people, and this is is part of a huge overpopulation problem. I think when there's so many animals, they lose their novelty and their specialness, and they do they're chasing after cars and these motor taxis that they're kind of like motorcycle rickshaws that are used as taxis here, and they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere, and they're mating and they're barking, and I have even I can't believe I'm saying this, but I have even found them a bit annoying at times. It's like, geez, I just walk down the street.
These are just the sprays, the overpopulation, so they don't have a spay and neutering, or I guess the other question would be, when you're out there with your dogs, what percentage of the population is actually, our pet guardians themselves that are out there walking their dogs?
Okay, well, this is an interesting question. There isn't really a need for people to go take their dogs for a walk, because basically they're loose all the time. Oh, they are in the area that I am. I mean, people don't have fences so much. They're not confined to houses. So the dogs, as well as being protectors of the people and their homes, they have their own lives. So if little Blanco dog decides that it's 2:00 in the afternoon and he wants to go see his friend Indigo, he just goes off and takes sees his friend Indigo. Whereas in America, you have to make an appointment.
A play date.
So it's a little bit different, but there's pluses and minuses to all of this. The dogs aren't cared for like we do in the States. Most of these dogs where I am in more rural areas, they don't have their vaccinations, they're not spayed, they're not, they don't have the kind of balanced diet that we're used to feeding our animals. So it's the flip side of the freedom is the lack of care and not having as long a life. The life that they have is much freer in many ways, but it's more prone to having diseases and this kind of thing too.
Do you see a lot of malnourished dogs that you can kind of see their ribs? And is that the type of nuisance that you see that's littered in the street? Really kind of dogs? Okay. In truth, all the drive down through Central America and into Colombia and Ecuador, I really wasn't seeing a lot of that horrible, gaunt, ribs kind of thing. Now, I think part of this is because my eyes have become more attuned to animals that are thinner. In America, they have diet pills for dogs now. So you're used to seeing fatter dogs in America, and these dogs are leaner. And it's interesting because if you talk to expatriates who live here, they often laugh about this because we all see these dogs as not being so much thin as just being sleek. However, as soon as I got to Peru, I noticed a drastic difference, and I was shocked. Coming from the north into Ecuador, there were many very malnourished and diseased dogs just all over the place, just radically different. And I think part of the problem is that Peru is a poorer country. The people are poor. A lot of them are on subsistence level, so they don't have scraps at the end of their meals to give the dogs, which is what how a lot of them would normally get fed. You eat your chicken bone or you eat your chicken and then you toss the dog the bone or whatever's left over. And here people are eating the bones.
That's a huge disparity, and I think it's an eye opener for people that are treating their pets as part of the family. I mean, they just couldn't believe what you're saying, and kind of makes us really grateful for where we live and the things that we kind of take for granted. But I think what would be really interesting to know too is that in your travels, you're crossing borders, and most of the readers of Fido Friendly Magazine are just out there trying to get down to San Diego for the weekend. So there's no crossing borders for them. So
right, exactly.
What kind of experiences? Yeah, what kind of experiences have you had that maybe our readers, our listeners haven't really thought about as far as going from point A to point B?
I think things like heat are a huge problem. I think stress for the human is a huge problem, because what you're encountering all the time is a new situation every single day, and which is why, for me, being in this one place for a couple of weeks is really valuable. So it's not like you're doing the circuits in, say, going from San Diego to Arizona and then back again that you've done before at some point, and you're just kind of like experimenting with a different time of year. This is kind of, it's very much, everything is new all the time. And that's true for the dogs too. They're not seeing the same familiar dog friends in the landscape. So I think it's something that you have to really be very careful about when you're traveling, is that you do go slowly with this kind of experience, so that so you have time to kind of comprehend everything that's going on and catch up and take a break. Or else you're stressed all the time, and then you're worried about your animals, or maybe you're so stressed you don't have time to worry about your animals, which is even worse, of course.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I sit here and I've read some of your I've read all your articles, and then some of them I'm just absolutely amazed at some of the adventures that you have with your dogs. I mean, I take myself, I'm a man, I take my dog Tosh out into the backwoods, and I think, hey, that's a great adventure. And then I read your articles, and it kind of puts me to shame, because you're out in different countries, you're in the African bush, you're just kind of traveling all over the place, and it kind of made me feel like is that true pack mentality is not just for the dogs, but I can see how as a human you would get that pack mentality with your dogs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if you could kind of take maybe some of our listeners through how your pack was established. I know that there was a beginning point when there was a love story between Dog and Bruiser on how they met, but maybe on how you guys came together on to be the Three Musketeers in a way.
The Three Musketeers. I haven't heard that one before. That's good. Well, yeah, I mean, I was married to an Englishman when I was living in Egypt, and we moved together to Kenya, and the first house didn't work out, so after a year we moved again, and on the doorstep of the second house was this dog that everyone called Odik. And I felt the bond that we had, it was one of those special instantaneous bonds that it was just magical. Unfortunately, my husband didn't quite have that same bond with her. Not initially.
I remember that comment that you made in your article where you said that he made a comment about that being the thin edge of the wedge, and that is always stuff because it's so visual.
Anyway, so I bonded with this animal that I called Dog, who I later found out I was calling her Dog. Other people were calling her Odik. And Odik in one of the African languages actually means dog. So everyone was calling her Dog. And I would walk with her every single day in this forest that had monkeys and not many wild animals, but monkeys and some other things. And one day on the way to the forest, she and this other dog were absolutely cavorting and going absolutely nuts over each other. And a African man showed up, and he said, "Oh yes, that's they mated." And that was Bruiser, who was also actually called Tusker, which is the name of a Kenyan beer. So after some time, I would go for walks with both of them to the forest, and then after some time, Bruiser would just show up at the house at 4:00 and say, "Well, are we going for a walk?" And then it became complicated because we wanted to move again, and we were offered this incredible house on the edge of a game park, so there was rhinos and giraffe and everything on the far hill. And there was a dog that came with that house. So already we were going to instantly have 2 dogs. And remember, my husband wasn't really crazy about this animal thing that was going on with me. So the idea of taking Bruiser with us was, John wasn't so excited about it. I wanted to, but there was complications. There was plenty of dogs in the neighborhood that we were going to be moving into. And also, at this point, I felt like, well, Bruiser is 5 years old. He has his kind of owner, but kind of not really an owner. He's been on this area of land for all his life, for 5 years. Do I really want to, remove him from that? And he had his, really, it's like the dogs here that I'm explaining about. He had his routine, he'd get up in the morning and he would go to different construction sites and they would toss him food. And he had his own dog friends also there. So it was a very difficult decision, but I thought, no. It's just too complicated. No matter how much I love this dog, and I really did, because the bond that I had with him was very much like what I had with dog also. So I said no. And so we left him there. I went back a couple of times for walks in the forest, like we had been doing, and it was incredibly painful every time after the walk, because I would drive away. He would chase after the car because he would be saying, well, wait, we're a pack, why aren't we going together? And so, and I would have kids, yell and shout at him to make him go back to the area where he hung out. So after doing this a couple of times, I said, no, okay, I have to just completely cut myself from him and just end the relationship and not see him. Yeah. So a year went by, and I didn't see him. I thought about him a lot, but good as my word, I didn't go back. And then after a year, I happened to be in that neighborhood, and I thought, I'm just going to go check and see if he's around. So I looked and I saw a bunch of dogs and I didn't see him. And then I looked at one of those dogs and I thought, wait a second, is that him? And it was pouring with rain. And, there was this dog all curled up that looked much smaller than I remembered him to look like. And he was like huddled and, curled up tight against the rain in the shelter of a building. And I called him and he looked at me and he was like, oh, it was one of those looks, and where have you been? And but it was the same. And I looked at him; he was covered in mange. Part of his ear was missing. And you have to think, okay, he was about 5 years old, and that's about as long as dogs live in these kind of environments. They don't live 10, 15 years. They don't have the medical background. They don't have the food. They don't, have all those luxuries. So he'd gone from being really the leader of, the neighborhood to, other dogs were making their way up the hierarchy. So he was on his way out. So I called up the SPCA there, the Kenya SPCA. And I said, I got to do something. I can't keep this dog, but, maybe we can have him fix the mange scene to something like that. So long story short, they took him in and they found a home for him with a Korean missionary family. And I wanted to go and visit them. I had visions that I would go visit them at Christmas time, or they would send me, postcards with Bruiser on it, with the rest of the family. And as ridiculous as that sounds. So I went to the director where I had done some volunteer work, and I asked her, I said, can I have their phone number? I'd like to go make sure that he's okay. And she said to me, well, we can't do that. We've had problems before with people, relinquishing. I mean, they even use the same kind of words that they do with human babies. We've had problems with people relinquishing and then, interfering, and then the people end up giving it back because there's too much harassment. They don't feel like it's their animal anymore. Right. She said, but it's a really good family. She said, but, I had my doubts in the beginning because, they're Korean and, Koreans eat dogs. And so immediately I have this vision of this carcass hanging down, all the way home. I'm just absolutely a wreck. I'm in tears, and John's like, okay, we'll find him. Don't worry. And so I started looking. I knew the town where he was, which was about an hour and a half drive away from where we lived. So I went up there. And it was like looking for a needle in the haystack. But bizarrely enough, I did find the missionary family and showed him the pictures that I had. And they said, oh, yes. And he had a very worried look on his face. And so, of course, the vision of the carcasses hanging came into my head again. And I thought, oh, no, they have eaten him. So then he said, yes, but it was Bruiser and another dog. They ran away a few days ago. I thought, oh, jeez. So I contacted an animal communicator in Arizona. And so we began these email exchanges back and forth to try and find him. And at this point, I thought, okay, whatever happens, no matter what future my life is going to have, this dog is mine. Where I'm not going to be doing this, just giving him to someone else again. So, long story short, with the help of the animal communicator Ronnie Hall, we found him. And since then we have the three of us, without my husband. I hate to say. But fortunately, he and I are still good friends. Okay. We are very much a very solid pack. And, even when we're traveling, there's because now it's been 4 years that we have been together basically 24 hours a day. And I know what they think. They know what I think. I can prejudge their moves. When we're walking along and I see another dog, I pretty much know yay or nay if dog is going to like him, if Bruiser is going to like him, if there's going to be problems, if they're all going to get along. I mean, we're very, very attuned to each other. And I think that can only happen with that kind of intensity if you are with an animal that often. And it is very magical. It is very confining at times. Like today, I'm gone from the house for about 6 hours today. And I know they're probably thinking, whoa, where is she? But, I think hopefully by now they realize that I will be back.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of get that confidence a little bit.
Yes.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to make sure to mention is any listeners out there can go on to your website and to follow your blog on amissionfromdog.com.
Correct. And then it's for the dog blog, it's dogblog.htm. And for the just on amissionfromdog.com, I'll have notices out as it gets closer to the release date, and it'll also be an audiobook too.
Oh, wonderful! That's wonderful. Well, we're gonna basically have to have you come back, and your next stop. Where are you going from Peru?
I am actually not sure. I'm either going to be going into Bolivia or down into Chile, and it's at this time I'm in the north of Peru, so that I'm still. I'm not sure, about 1,000 miles away. So I'll know when I get closer. And I'll also, it's going to be if I feel like a little bit more of some Western kind of influence or something more third worldy. And if I can do another third world country, then it'll be Bolivia. So, if not, I'll hopefully do a circuit around and I'll come back to Bolivia.
Well, next time you find a good connection at an internet cafe, be sure to let us know because we love talking to you and finding out about your latest adventures with Dog and Bruiser. So take care, Lorraine, and travel safe and make sure you bring us up here in the next couple of weeks.
Will do. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, Lorraine. You have a great day.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Now remember to learn more about the adventures of Lorraine Chittock and her African-born hounds, Dog and Bruiser. Go to her website on amissionfromdog.com and keep checking in so that you won't miss her new book that's going to be coming out on A Mission from Dog. And that's going to tell you a lot about her adventures while she was in Africa.
Yeah, she's been all over the place. And Susan, as well as I do, as far as some of the articles that have come in are just incredible from these places that she's at. I mean, she goes to Africa, she's in Costa Rica, places that, we may think of doing once in a lifetime. That's actually her life, being able to travel all these places. So it's really amazing, really what you can do as travel-wise, especially with dogs, some things that we don't even think about. So, and we were just talking with her. It was a little noisy, but she was at an internet cafe, and she actually was sitting on the floor because the cord couldn't reach. And we heard a lot of the background street noise that, was part of the Peru environment that she's in right now. But if you wanted to keep up to date on some of the articles that are coming from Lorraine, you can pick up a copy at Fido Friendly Magazine at the local Borders, Barnes & Nobles, PetSmart, and Fido Friendly hotels nationwide. You can also go to our website, FidoFriendly.com, and subscribe online today.
And coming up next is our travel tip. So sit and stay. We will be right back with more travel tales on Pet Life Radio.
Attention passengers, please fasten your seatbelts, put your seat backs and sleeping pets in their full upright position, and prepare for takeoff. Travel Tales will be zooming back with more great travel tips right after this.
There's nothing like a shaggy dog, baby. They're shagadelic. And this is the place to find out how to have harmony in the household with your pets. Oh, yeah. So stop by our pad every week and get switched on, baby. Switched on to the show that's all about attitude. Oh, behave. With your groovy host, pet edutainer Arden Moore. Yeah, baby, yeah. Every week on demand on PetLifeRadio.com.
Pets are part of the family, and when traveling with your dog, there's only one magazine to include when packing your doggy's duffel bag, and that's Fido Friendly, the travel and lifestyle magazine for you and your dog. Each bi-monthly issue includes hotel, city, and state reviews, and doggy destinations to explore with your furry companion. Fido Friendly magazine can be found at Borders, Barnes & Noble, PetSmart, Pet Boutiques, and Fido Friendly hotels nationwide. Or you can go online to subscribe at www.fidofriendly.com. So get traveling with your pet today and leave no dog behind. And remember, Fido Friendly's the only magazine dedicated to the travel lifestyle of man's best friend, and the one magazine your dog will thank you for.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Attention passengers, we are now approaching our final destination. The weather is sunny and warm. Ocean temperature is a balmy 80 degrees for those of you wishing to doggy paddle. Please exit to the front and see our activities directors, Susan and Nicholas, on your way out. Have a pleasant stay.
Welcome back to Travel Tales on Pet Life Radio. This is Nicholas Vezlowski along with Susan Sims, and you have been listening to Lorraine Chittock about her latest adventure traveling in South America with her two dogs, Dog and Bruiser.
I know, and it's funny, we receive emails and letters from people wondering how to travel with their dogs, where to stay, and let's just say they're worried about checking into a Holiday Inn or something like that. And here's Lorraine. She's crossing borders, and she's going from Costa Rica to Peru, and she's just amazing.
Yeah, it really kind of brings everything into perspective. I mean, even as much as we travel with our dogs, and I make trip plans for Tasha, and I think about the things to bring, and it's almost I have to put myself in a whole different mindset to figure out what Lorraine must go through on trying to figure out how to cross borders. So it's very interesting on what it is that she actually does, and it makes us feel better that we can really do a lot more with our dogs and get out there and travel with them and go to these hotels. And that brings us to our Fido-friendly travel tip. When you're on an adventure with your dogs and going across borders, you want to be sure that you do your homework. You can check out the local government websites for documents needed, any quarantines that are required. And in our upcoming issue, the January-February issue of Fido-friendly magazine, we're going to include an informative page of websites and phone numbers for travel resources, both domestic and abroad. Lorraine's article will also have some information on how she crossed borders and what went into the preparation for that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun article, and for anyone that's going to do a vicarious trip, Lorraine is the girl that you want to read about and find out what she's doing next. But we would also love to hear from you if you have any questions or comments. So feel free to email us at Pet Life Radio. And until next time, leave no dog behind. This is Susan Sims along with Nicholas Vezlowski for Travel Tales on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio presents Travel Tales, the show where you'll get great travel ideas on perfect places for you and your pet. From Paris to paradise, south of the border to the South Seas, Travel Tales will give you cool tips on fun vacation destinations to travel with your pet, pet-friendly hotels, and advice on how to travel safely and happily with your furry best friends. So, get ready to pack the bags and the bones with your Travel Tales hosts, Susan Sims and Nicholas Vezlowski, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.